I'm a psychologist. I started out in child psychology. Was really how I got into the field. So that kind of individual work with that little girl, I know the tremendous just effort, and when you watch a small child who has that kind of a history of trauma, and to watch them through techniques that make a difference in their life, that's where I live. That's how I started in this field, and now I'm charged with my other job. At this point, I'm still doing private practice, but I'm also the director of community wellness at Economic Opportunity Program. So, okay, I didn't know if I was getting a sound. Can everyone hear? Does it seem to get quiet on me? Can you hear? Okay. So now my other hat is not so much the individual work, but to try and take it to an agency. And those, we've had many different challenges with that, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. So just in terms of context, Economic Opportunity Program, we have just celebrated our 50th year. We're a community action agency. And by the nature of our mission statement, we're working with populations also very much like the Southside Community Center that are economically disadvantaged. And so it's, again, all the things that come along with that. So we work with families that there's tremendous amount of struggle and disruption, and the kids come to us and the parents come to us, not just with the level of heartache and stress in their lives, but also with they've been exposed to many providers and many programs, and so trust issues and connecting with them from the program, connecting with our clients is often a challenge in and of itself. So then you try and introduce a new program, and it's often not immediately received the way people who already have experience with this and know how it can be of benefit and are excited to use it and to implement it. We often have a very different attitude coming to these programs than some of the clients that we're trying to serve. One of the mistakes I made is that some of our staff also, just by nature of working in a not-for-profit, many of our staff have, at some point in their life, been recipients of many of the programs that we offer. So there's also this kind of community movement that involves the clients that we're serving, the staff that we're serving, and then the external agency and a few of us within the agencies that are trying to bring these strategies to the community. And trying to put all of these things together, we had a few missteps along the way, and it certainly was a learning curve for me. So I want to talk a little bit about that journey. So how we got started was just over a year ago that Bryant contacted EOP and said there was this wonderful program, this Breathe and Heal. And so it went to somebody else, but anything that has to do with strategies for mental health or relaxation or reducing stress, they say, oh, turf it to Rachel. So that's how I got involved. I had never heard of this. In my private practice, I'd use different breath techniques and relaxation. So I had a general understanding of some of these principles, but this particular program was new to me. So I met with Brian and with Martha and Bill Benedict, and immediately could see just the tremendous importance of bringing this to our agency. And immediately I was excited, and I was thinking of our after-school programs and our Head Start programs and our parent programs. And but it again was because it made sense to me. I had a lot of experience with this or similar strategies, so it was very easy for me to kind of integrate these ideas and understand how they would be helpful. My first mistake was in not appreciating that certainly not everybody at EOP had my background. So there were a lot more hurdles and training and support and education that was needed than we had the opportunity to do. So when we started out, we had expected hurdles. These were the things that we certainly knew of. Who would train our staff? What would be the cost of training the staff? And how would we implement the breathing programs into already existing programs? As a not-for-profit, everything is grant-driven. We lose programs because of loss of funds. So we certainly didn't have money to hire new staff or implement a new program. So we had to use our existing structure. Then Claire Brown and her very kind team in our area had agreed, so this took care of the cost part, to come in and train our staff and work with our staff at no cost to us, come to the after-school program. And so that's where we started. So we thought, who would train our staff? We took care of that. The cost, we took care of that. Implementing into an existing program, we picked the after-school program because we figured that children we knew there'd be kind of a natural connection with breathing and movement, and we had staff that was very connected with the kids they've been working with. These were long-term staff. So we thought that this would be a nice place for very likely to have success, and so that was our plan. So we had the community members came in, they worked with our staff, then they came and worked with our staff and with the kids, and we thought, we're ready to go. What we didn't anticipate was a number of unexpected hurdles. And the biggest one, perhaps, was the need for structured, ongoing support. It was a nice start, but it wasn't enough to keep it going. And what happened was our staff that would say, this is great, I love it, they would do it when they were being trained. I wrongly didn't anticipate the level of discomfort there would be in trying to stand up and lead this with inadequate experience and training and understanding of how these principles work and why they work. I don't work in the after school. Because of the role that I play, I consult with all the programs, but I'm not there in them. So I wasn't there, so when I would talk to staff, it would sound good, but in practice, it just wasn't being followed through. And so that was one of the first things. There was also, I think, a level of discomfort. Again, for me, with my background and my experience, it just made sense to me. And then I had the pleasure of coming to this conference last year when it was at Geneva, and again, it just reinforced everything, just the new techniques. I use it myself. I've used it with my own clients. I was talking it up at EOP, since those earliest conversations. It makes sense to me. But for a population that doesn't have this opportunity, hasn't been exposed, it just, you know what, I'm already working, I'm already doing a million tasks, I already don't have time to get through the things I need to get through. This is just one more strategy that you're throwing at me in my program. And I wasn't sensitive enough to that and the real stresses that our staff is under. So these became part of our kind of the unexpected hurdles. And also just that kind of, as we all have as human beings, a resistance to change. For me, this wasn't change. This was just utilizing already tried and true methods, strategies for reducing stress, for working with folks. So there was no change for me. I just had to learn more about what I already knew was a good idea. But when you're introducing strategies that really are foreign, there is more time that you have to spend familiarizing the staff with it. So for those of you who are thinking of bringing it to your programs, I would caution you, this was certainly a mistake that I made. So we didn't stop there, though. I like to think we're kind of in our toddlerhood. We're taking our first steps, we've fallen down, but we're going to get back up and we're going to keep moving forward. So our second plan. So at this point I knew I needed to step back. I needed to step back, look at my agency and see, first of all, where was there greater intrinsic interest in doing this? And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a pilot and see where that is. So I was going to advertise to the entire agency. I myself would lead a short breathing exercise, actually using Dr. Brown's chimes, for 15 minutes twice a week, and then just to experience it, not to introduce a program, not to say, okay, I want you to take this to the folks you're working with, but just to kind of expose the agency. I've been talking about it. There were several staff that had done breathing techniques. They were talking about it. So they'd certainly been hearing, but those conversations for a year at this point had pretty much dropped and didn't go anywhere. So the next step was to really do it with them, to invite everyone and really have them experience it for no other reason than just to experience it. Because again, for me, I had that familiarity and background. My staff didn't. So that was going to be the next thing. And I would lead it where I wouldn't be relying on other staff. I would do this myself. so that I could at least, I'm not a certified trainer in this, but I think I could handle 15 minutes of turning on Dr. Brown's soothing voice and giving kind of an overall, here's what we're here to do, and then breathe. And then I wanted to get feedback. I was going to send out a survey and get feedback so that again, it wasn't just conversations in the hall, but it was something that I could document. Where are we with this? And only after all those steps were done would I then plan, where is it likely to be beneficial in our agency? So this was the flyer that I emailed to everyone in the agency. We posted it in the staff room. I posted it in the halls. I put it on the door of the room we were going to do it in. And again, with people having no background in this, it says just breathe. Simple guided breathing break, relax, do an easy century-old breathing technique designed to bring calm. And I said that we would be looking for feedback. And so I put the times and the dates. And again, kept talking up, yeah, that sounds good. I chose 15 minutes twice a week because I thought once a week isn't enough, because if you miss one, it's going to be 2 weeks before you come again. And 15 minutes, I thought, people can't give me too much flack for 15 minutes. So I thought if I could get them there for 15 minutes, I could begin having an exposure. So, session 1. This is absolutely what happened. I had been emailing it. I did reminder emails. Yes, yes, we'll come, Rachel. Yes, I think they started going like this when they saw me coming. So literally, the first session, what I did, I thought, well, I can sit here and be discouraged, or I can understand all those things that I have just tried to share, because at that point, I'd been thinking a lot about it. So we have, EOP is 2 floors, and much of the staff is on the 2nd floor. I literally went around to every cubicle and office, knocking on doors, pulling people out, and of course it was, oh, is that today? Is that today? Oh, gee, I'm right in the middle. 15 minutes. Come on, 15 minutes. And the thing that got every staff member, okay, so here's another little trick. How can we help the clients if we don't try it ourselves? That was the thing that got them, because my staff is committed to our clients. So that was the thing that got them. So, reluctantly, they came down the hall and sat in the room, and we put them in. And so we had between 9 and 16 people for 7 sessions. We had there was a holiday, one of the days why we didn't have 8. So we had 7 sessions, and we had between 9 and 16 people each session. And several that had to miss started saying, I really want to come, but there really were obligations at other sites that took them away. But all 16 had to be coerced, cajoled, corralled every time. Every time, down to the last time. So you have to really be passionate about the importance of this. Because again, the stress that our staff and our clients are under are enormous. And I'm sure everybody sitting here knowing what I'm talking about. So one more strategy just feels like one more piece of homework. So even after, because those first sessions, very quickly, the feedback was, oh my gosh, I can't believe how I feel. Oh my gosh, that was worth it. When are you doing this again? Like it's on the 3 flyers you just got. But absolutely, but still, how good they would feel. 2 days later, done on a Monday and a Wednesday, that could be, by Wednesday it was forgotten. And again, empty room. Every single time, I had to go around the hall and grab people and pull people, remind them in the morning of, remember, we're doing our breathing today, remember, 2:35, everyone come, we're doing, yes, Rachel. Still, the room would be empty. And I would pull staff out. And pulling them away from, again, their extensive list of, they're working on audits and reports and parent plans. This was not a resistance because they had, in any way, were not motivated employees or were not invested in the work they were doing. I was pulling everyone away from meetings and conversations and at their computers. That's why I made it just 15 minutes. It was hard to argue 15 minutes. And I kept saying, we can't expect our clients to learn new strategies, to learn healthy strategies, if we can't find 15 minutes ourselves to commit to it. And that just made sense, and so they would come. So the next step was, after we had done the 7 sessions, this I gave to everyone. 14 out of the 16 handed it back. And this is just, name optional. And it just asks them questions about, and I'll give you their feedback. Was the time too long, too short, just right? Is this your first experience? What did you enjoy about this experience? What would have improved it? How does this compare with other breathing techniques? Would you consider using this or similar techniques with your EOP clients? And any additional comments? So 13 out of the 14 provided their name, which I like. So it was a sense of I'm committing to what I'm saying. It was about half and half in terms of if they'd done this before or anything like this before. Was the time 15 minutes? Most thought it was just right. The location, when we had 9, it was great. When we had 16, it was a bit crowded. So that was just kind of some of the initial, demographics. So what did you enjoy most about this experience? And again, very similar comments from most people. Yes?
Were they sitting or lying down?
They were sitting. We had, I knew I couldn't get them to lie down. Not yet. But no, we had a conference room, with the big table, and there were chairs around the table and then chairs around the wall. And so when, maybe 9 to 12 were there, it was comfortable. When we started getting 14, 15, 16. One time, we thought we would even move it into the boardroom, but and we did that one time, but actually we had few enough people we could have kept it. So, and it's a nice room, conference room where we were. So for the most part, people were comfortable, but again, it is that sense of, a little bit self-conscious when you're just, too close, crowded in. And just as you can read their comments, always helpful to find techniques that can be used at no cost. That, of course, is somebody who's working in a non-for-profit. Just taking a few minutes away from work to calm down. Taking a break to relax at work without feeling guilty. I like that one. Offers continuous self-awareness. Allows myself time to stop and leave the hectic work and pressure. So what would have improved this experience? Most left it blank or said can't think of anything. So again, the staff was not bringing a lot of, here's what would enrich it. It was kind of like, well, that was good, okay. So again, it speaks to the level of, this is nice, I'm not sure what to do with it. It was, and again, when you don't have this in your background or this as your experience, and you have many other things that are in your background and your experience and fill your day, it's very hard to find room to add something new. So it just takes a little bit of bringing them along. And then how does this compare with other breathing techniques? I love the chimes. About half of them not applicable. It was the first one they'd done. Chimes help with holding the breath longer. The CD accompaniment was smooth and easy. And yes, we enjoyed that very much. But this one, would you consider using this or similar techniques with your EOP clients? Every survey, now remember, a lot of them they left blank. A lot of lines were left blank. Everyone answered yes. Absolutely, and several suggested adding additional populations, such as using it with our staff, which is something I'm kind of in the process of figuring out how best to do that, and even suggesting it to our EAP, our Employee Assistance Program. So again, where there was so much that wasn't answered, but yes, absolutely can see, how this would benefit clients. And any additional comments? When will we be doing this again? And thanks for bringing it to EOP. So again, it started to, become a little bit part of the thinking. We have a number of satellite sites that weren't able to come because we did it at the main building. I knew that doing it, but you have to start somewhere. So I have several outlying sites that I've had information from several staff, could you come here and do it? And I said, absolutely. But I would ask a staff member, can you find out what is the interest there, email it to me, and I'll come whatever time works. I haven't had one person respond, and I've done that with several sites. So again, it speaks to, you really have to, I know if I go there and work with it, which I will, it'll be well received. But going from my bringing it and leading it to it being a little bit more self-sustaining in some of the programs, that's what's taking some time. So next steps. So here's what we're going to do. Based on the feedback, we are going to move forward with this, but in a much more planned and supported way. Our Head Start serves 351 children in Chemung County. We have 21 classrooms at 7 sites. And so this is the biggest program. EOP has many programs. This is our biggest one by far. In terms of addressing with the children, Head Start has a disabilities mental health component. That's one of the hats that I wear. And social skills group is one of the strategies that we have for children who are identified as having self-regulatory problems, from traumatic backgrounds, if their family's involved in hotlines, if they're kids that just are having trouble managing themselves behaviorally in a Head Start class. We have a number of things that are part of the curriculum of every Head Start class. As those are insufficient, then we bring in mental health and social skills and some of the additional strategies that we have to work with small groups of children. Following this training today, this one, yesterday and today, Coherent Breath will become a standard part of our social skills group. And the reason I know that is because we have here our staff that went to the pilot, fell in love with it, are committed to bringing it to Head Start, and came to this training. So this time, we did it right. And for our parents, we also have our parent coordinator here, who is exploring what meetings and settings would be appropriate. Is that working? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. So our parent coordinator, and that's better, is also here and is looking at how to use it with parent groups, parent meetings. So we're going to start out with, again, a more extensive training with people that have been introduced to it, that have some experience with it, and absolutely are committed to and they're already doing social skills. So now we have the staff, and the manager, our mental health disability manager, also came to the pilot, so she's giving her staff support because she loved it and said we have to bring it to our kids in Head Start. So that's it for me.